Greetings and welcome to our review of Minit, a nostalgic, retro-inspired adventure game that puts players in the role of a character who finds a cursed sword that ends each day after only 60 seconds. Players will need to explore the world, fighting dangerous enemies, helping its inhabitants, uncovering secrets and unlocking new abilities 1 minute at a time in order to break the curse. Minit is fairly light on its story. You wake up in your home, take a wander outside and pick up a sword that you find discarded nearby, which turns out to be a big mistake as you're immediately hit with a curse that ends your day after 60 seconds and sends you back to your home, ready to start each day over and over again after just a minute of play. There's very little explained as you strike out in the various different directions on offer in the game, exploring everything you can as the precious seconds keep ticking down. This is very much a gameplay-led experience. There's an overarching story to the game, figuring out where the curses come from and putting a stop to it, but by and large the story, such as it is mostly just exploring the world and coming across a series of strange, quirky characters who will usually offer you some clue or pearl of wisdom, or just need you to do something for them in exchange for some kind of item that will help you on your adventure. The characters you meet on your travels are pretty cool, though you don't get much of a chance to get to know them, given the fact that you're always on the clock. There are a couple of memorable encounters, though they're only memorable because of how they interact with the game mechanics as opposed to their characterization, such as the old man by the lighthouse, who offers a vital clue to the location of some treasure, but talks so slowly you'll need pretty much a full 60 seconds to hear his advice. Teasing out hints and clues via lightning-fast character interactions works really well for Minit's gameplay, even if it does make this a fairly unmemorable story. You probably won't remember too much about the narrative or the characters in it, but this isn't really a massive negative for the game, as the story is basically just present enough to get you from point A to point B. It does what it needs to do, and then steps aside as you frantically rush through the game 60 seconds at a time. One obvious inspiration for Minit is classic Legend of Zelda games. This comes through not just in the structure of the main gameplay, but also through its presentation. Minit has been designed to look, sound and feel like a classic 8-bit adventure game. While nostalgically presented indie games are becoming a dime a dozen, this visual and audio style suits Minit to a T. The monochromatic graphics are simply perfect in conjunction with the types of experience Minit offers. It doesn't just work as a throwback to tickle the sentimentality of a gamer who played games when they all looked like this, it honestly feels like Minit couldn't have looked any other way. Part of what makes this game such a great experience is its world design. Thanks to the nature of its 60-second life cycle, Minit hinges on its world being compact, full of secrets, but easy to navigate quickly. While the world is quite big, you can actually navigate almost the whole thing in a single life, especially once you start opening up time-saving shortcuts and, crucially, memorizing the layout. Despite your constant need to rush through the game, or perhaps because of it, you'll get to learn your way around the intricately pieced-together map over time. Exploration in Minit feels great thanks to the absurd amount of secrets and puzzles that have been hidden in the world, oftentimes in plain sight. Finding a new area or figuring out the solution to a puzzle that's been bugging you for a while feels brilliant, and the whole thing feels even more exhilarating thanks to the core mechanic of the 60-second chunks you'll play the game in. Minit also sounds the part thanks to an 8-bit inspired soundtrack that blasts every scene with upbeat, catchy chiptune that's difficult not to tap your foot or nod your head along to. It's the perfect kind of nostalgic soundtrack, ever-present but excellent, fading into the background just enough to avoid becoming overpowering, but noticeable enough that you may find yourself humming along when the familiar notes of a particular track begin to play, lending Minit a lot of its endearing personality. It sounds overwhelming. An adventure game where you die after a mere 60 seconds, forced to restart from whatever checkpoint you've been calling home, and striking out into the world over again. At first it can be. Minit offers very little direction as to what you're supposed to be doing, instead relying on the players themselves to simply head out into the world and find the adventure within 60 seconds. But therein lies the beauty of Minit's compulsively addictive gameplay. You're forced to parse clues out for yourself, free from any sort of quest log or overbearing narrative that forces you to follow a set path. If you see something interesting, then Minit encourages you to check it out. If you get stuck, there are plenty of other directions for you to explore, and you'll find adventure no matter which direction you choose to travel in. At first, death feels like a constant threat, as you fall short of completing a task before your 60 seconds are up, and you drop dead, sent back to your house to restart the painfully short day over again. As you slowly get into the rhythm of the game, however, you'll realise that your minute-long lifespan isn't actually a hindrance. Instead, it's oddly freeing. Knowing you have such a short amount of time to freely explore helps you to focus on completing tasks efficiently. And it's not as annoying as it sounds. In fact, it's not annoying at all. There was literally no moment where I cursed the game for not having enough time to complete a quest. Part of this is down to the excellent level design I mentioned earlier, which makes navigation fairly quick once you've mentally mapped out an area. Part of this is down to the clever system that keeps your important progress intact between lives. Mostly, though, it's down to how easy the game is to play. It's very intuitive, skipping any kind of complicated gameplay mechanics knowing you really don't have the time to learn them. The protagonist is fairly nimble, and it's pretty easy to control them as you move around the world. Combat is also uncomplicated, revolving around a single button to swing your cursed sword. The only other button you'll need is the one that cuts a run short, handy if you know you don't have enough time to complete a particular objective, or if you want a quick way back to your home. While the 60-second long runs create a compellingly addictive gameplay loop, Minit's movement in combat can be a touch frustrating. When transitioning between screens or navigating narrow corridors, I found that the protagonist would too easily get caught on corners, hampering my progress slightly in a game where every second counts. Combat is easily the weakest part of the experience, offering very little challenge outside of a tricky aiming system that occasionally has you swinging your sword in the wrong direction, which is compounded by your low life bar that means you can only take 2 hits before an early death finds you. These are minor gripes at most, however, barely detracting from an otherwise solid experience. You'll spend the majority of your time solving puzzles to unlock new areas and trying to unearth the many secrets hidden in the game, and this is where Minit is at its best. It walks a fine line in terms of difficulty, but pulls it off excellently, just challenging enough to feel constantly rewarding, but not so challenging that you constantly smash your head against its time restrictions in frustration. The only thing that holds Minit back is, ironically, its length. You can easily clear the game in an hour or two, though you'll probably want to spend a bit longer with the game to dig out all of its secrets and collectibles, something I've felt compelled to do myself, which doesn't ordinarily happen to me. There's also a brutal New Game Plus mode that offers masochists out there an added challenge, complete with remixed encounters, a lower health pool, and a mere 40-second lifespan. Minit is an excellent, bite-sized adventure game that makes great work of its core gimmick. What could have been an overwhelming or overly frustrating experience is instead a truly compelling one. Rushing around Minit's excellent world 60 seconds at a time is great, thanks to an addictive core gameplay loop. While you might feel a little lost in the opening minutes, you'll quickly find yourself compelled to explore every corner of the game thanks to the fast-paced, rewarding gameplay that manages to walk the line between challenging and frustrating with relative ease. This is one adventure you definitely don't want to skip. Thanks very much for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving us a like, comment, or even subscribing to the channel. And as always, keep it here at my Xbox and me for more reviews, commentary, let's plays, and a weekly podcast. Have a great day, guys.